The full title is It's a Great Life If You Don't Weaken, How to Deal with the Ups and Downs in Life and the Jerks in Between. And, and what it discusses is techniques for how to deal with all the distressing predicaments and people we all encounter far too often.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stephenson, the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, where our mission is to empower you to live your best audacious life ever. It's always a pleasure to be here sharing insights and stories and practical tips to help you navigate the complexities of life. I truly appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us. Now, just imagine for a second, you're publishing your very first book. It's like navigating a dense forest. At first, the path may be obscured by thick underbrush, filled with challenges and uncertainties. But as you push through and share your life experiences, you begin to clear a trail, not just for yourself, but for those who may follow. Just like the journey of writing and publishing a book, sharing your life lessons can illuminate the way for others, helping them to avoid pitfalls and embrace opportunities. In today's episode, we'll dive into techniques for dealing with difficult people and the importance of making those confrontations about them rather than ourselves. We'll also explore the value of boldness, the necessity of embracing change, and the power of living authentically to achieve a truly fulfilling life. Plus, if that wasn't enough, we'll also share some practical tips to help you manage everyday situations such as a veterinarian bills or maybe a dispute with a service provider like a plumber. I'm super excited to introduce our guest today. His name is Brian Hampton. He's an author and life empowerment advocate who recently published his book, It's a Great Life If You Don't Weaken, How to Deal with the Ups and Downs in Life and the Jerks in Between. Cute title. At 81 years old, Brian brings a wealth of experience and insight that is incredibly relevant to our discussion. With a diverse career that includes serving as an Army officer, a political consultant, and a telemarketer, Brian has faced his fair share of challenges, and he's here to share his lessons that he's learned along the way. So now that we've got you all set, let's turn to our conversation with Brian. Enjoy. Hey, Brian, thank you for joining me here today on the Audacious Living Podcast. I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted and honored to be part of your acclaimed show.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate the interest and wanting to share. And I think sharing is an appropriate term to sort of use because of the fact that you've written a book and it's really about life lessons and things that you've learned along your own personal journey. You did that 81 years old, Brian, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Congratulations. What made you want to do it at that point in your life?
My wife and I, long ago, it was like oddly about 5 years ago, we were living in Arlington, Virginia. It doesn't snow much there. We had a big snowstorm. I knew I wasn't going to work that day, so I thought, well, how can I make myself useful?
Okay.
Then it occurred to me that I've had so many different jobs and even occupations that I learned a lot of things, as we all do, the long, hard way. So maybe I'd write a book on life empowerment. And that was 5 years ago. Little did I know that the writing part was about 5% of the effort to get it published.
Okay. And then the 95% was all the work to get it published.
To get the publisher, because they want to know that you can sell tens of thousands of books. They want to know that you're on TV every other week, that you have tens of thousands of followers.
Got you.
And I didn't have any of that. I was a first-time published author.
Right. Yeah, something special to share, right? That's really what it came down to.
I think so. I hope so.
Good. So let's talk about the book. It's called It's a Great Life If You Don't Weaken. Explain the title.
Sure. Um, yeah, thanks for bringing up the book. There are 2 million books published every year, and getting them published is, like I said, a lot of work. And then selling the books is even harder. The full title is It's a Great Life If You Don't Weaken, How to Deal with the Ups and Downs in Life and the Jerks in Between. And, and what it discusses is techniques for how to deal with all the distressing predicaments and people we all encounter far too often.
Mm-hmm. And then systems, well, like, because you talk about like insurance companies and doctors, like it's a bunch of not just individuals but structures too, it sounds like.
Exactly. Doctors, lawyers, dentists, rude people, insurance companies, plumbers,
Got you.
all
You've,
of them.
you've seen it all. So you sort of, I want to go back because you talked about you looked at your career and you had many different types of jobs. Can you talk about some of these jobs that you've had and maybe a couple key lessons that you've learned from some of them?
Sure. My wife and I have been married for 21 years, and every few months I tell her about a job I had that she doesn't know about. And she says, wow, how long did you have that one? Meaning I've had so many different jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I've been, and thanks for asking, I've been an Army officer, service in Vietnam, advertising executive, federal government employee, political consultant. I've been a fundraiser. I've been dreaded telemarketer. I've been a bill collector. And I've been in politics. I was in politics related stuff in Washington, D.C., where politics is a blood sport, really.
Mm.
And so I've met far more of my share of difficult people. And I thought I'd share some of the lessons that I'd learned the very hard way.
Got you. And what I love about the concept of your book is sharing the lessons. Big fan of sharing in general. I think if you can go through an experience that you knew nothing about prior to, get to the other side of that, and whether you're successful or not, there are lessons that you've learned, right? Maybe you learn how to be successful, maybe you learn how to do it better the next time around. But you can take that and share with other people, and that's exactly what you're doing with your book.
Yes, my purpose, and thanks for the lead in, thanks for talking about the book. My purpose of writing the book was to share the techniques that I learned the long, 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 hard way, and to derive the satisfaction I would get from that to try to make a positive difference in the lives of others.
Mm-hmm. Got you. So let's. It seems like a very fun book, I must say, and just kind of looking at some of the headings here, and there's all sorts of things, all sorts of suggestions and tips that you offer. For example, you talk about how to keep your veterinarian bill low. How do you do that?
You have really done the research on me, and I thank you for that. Really, really appreciate it. Um, Thanks very much. Um, a lot of your listeners maybe remember that old Midas commercial where they go in and say, I'm not going to pay a lot for this muffler.
Okay.
And what you do when you go to the veterinarian, my wife and I had 2 dogs. We paid, God bless them, tens of thousands of dollars. And what you do when you go in there is you let them know that you're on a budget,
Okay.
which is a curious way of saying that you're going to control cost. And you ask them to say, let me know the cost before they're incurred. Because typically, maybe you have some pets, they run up the cost and then tell you later.
Gotcha. So you make it up front, you make it known. Here's what I'm working with. I'm on a fixed budget. Here's what we can do. Here's what we can't do. That kind of idea.
Right. My wife's far better at that than I am. She
That's
lets them know.
It's a work in progress.
Yes.
Okay, there's that. How about dealing with rude people? How do you do that? How do you pull that off?
That's really a core message of my book. And what I found is when I mention this, it sounds very obvious, but when we're in the middle of an unavoidable confrontation, it's not so obvious. So what I found was, and I had to reflect on it to figure out how it really worked, is you're in a confrontation
Mm-hmm.
with maybe a difficult or rude person. And what you need to do is to be sure to make it about them. Don't make it about you. Because if you're talking about yourself, I feel this, or I feel that, or I felt this, or whatever, you're on the defensive. So,
Mm,
what you want to do is to make it about them. You can even say, and I've certainly done this, I'm not the issue here, you're the issue.
right, right, right. Interesting. And getting them to sort of, I guess it allows them to feel that you're listening or paying attention to them. Is that the strategy behind it?
Yes, well, I'm essentially getting to the point where people really don't want resolution. They don't want to be cordial. They're just being difficult and they want to get the best of you. So the idea is to leave the ball in their court. Otherwise, you're carrying around a grudge. You're carrying around a
Mm,
slight, which I've certainly done for years. I can remember slights from decades ago, and we don't want to carry around grudge. So um, I developed a few short rejoinders. I could mention some of those if you like.
sure, why not?
Okay. Um, and I've actually used them. I had a phone conversation with a longtime business colleague on the phone, and I knew he was a hardball player. And but I thought he knew what kind of a person I was. And suddenly, out of the blue, he started really browbeating me, giving me a hard time, playing hardball. And I realized he didn't really know who I was.
Okay.
So I waited till a couple of seconds where he stopped talking, and I said simply, "Pull it back." 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds. He didn't say anything. And then he started talking again like nothing happened. He never gave me a hard time again.
Oh, I like it. I like it. I like it a lot, actually, and it totally makes sense. And I think the way you're suggesting, you like the matter what you're suggesting, it's very practical. It makes sense. And so, like, okay, let's give that a shot and see, kind of a
Yeah,
thing.
I have a couple more if you want them.
Yeah, sure. Let's hear it. I'd love to hear them.
Okay, these are for the very difficult people.
Okay.
Um, and maybe somebody might say, I'm offended. And the rejoinder I've figured out for that is, I'm offended that you're offended. Or they might say, I don't appreciate what you said. My
Okay.
response to that is, that's good. You weren't meant to appreciate it. Or they sound befuddled or don't want to respond or whatever to what you're saying. You could say, which part didn't you understand?
Hmm. Interesting. I like that.
Or
I remember I
really
was in. I remember I was in a
difficult.
conversation once with someone, and they sent me an email asking me a question, and I didn't fully understand the question, and I responded back and I said, I'm not sure I fully understand your question, but if this is what you're saying, this is my response. But I'm not sure, so here you go. Well, the person responded back, which I would say was a bit rude because it was like, well, everyone else understood it. Why don't you understand it? It's just simply, and he kind of reiterated again. And really, in that moment, and I remember going, look, if I didn't understand, just ask me the question again. Don't tell me what everyone else did. Don't talk down to me, right? Like it's just ask it again. And so I hear that. So when someone doesn't understand something, right? So my take is if I've said something and someone doesn't understand, then I think the onus is on me as the individual to reframe that and give it to them again in a manner in which they can understand.
Sure, that's a good way to go.
Yeah. And so when I hear you say to them, can you ask the question again? That's kind of along those same lines, right? Where it's the initial message wasn't heard, it wasn't received, so let's try it again.
Exactly. Exactly.
Good, good. I'm actually enjoying this. You also talk about winning a dispute with a plumber. What does that? How do you make that happen in a positive fashion for yourself?
Wow. I have friends who say, well, plumbing is the bane of my existence. Boy, um, how do you deal with plumbers? Well, to get a new plumber, it's a good idea to shop around a little bit. Um, and what I found is when you make a few phone calls and you ask a few questions, the way you're treated by the people who answer the phone is pretty much the way you're going to be treated when the plumber comes out. Are they responsive? Are they respectful?
Mm-hmm.
How cordial are they? But when push comes to shove, if you have a dispute with a plumber or any other sort of vendor or even a medical professional, when it really goes kind of nuclear, if you have a dispute about a bill, you can always say, I'm going to take this to the state licensing board.
Okay.
That is their hot button
Okay.
because that's affect their ability to do business.
Right. Right. Okay. Okay. So you get right to the point. You make them know you mean business.
Yes, exactly.
I got it. I got it. Look, I think it's great. I'm sure we'll certainly encourage listeners to get get a copy of your book or at least to check out some of the lessons because what I'm hearing is that there's lots of practical everyday knowledge that you've shared right in your 81 years, which I think is totally awesome. With respects to so the I guess the key message that you're wanting to leave people with, what would that be, Brian?
Live audaciously.
I
Believe
like that.
believe in yourself. And I think it's a quote, if I remember from Goethe, take bold, take positive action and bold forces will come to your support. So believe in yourself, take time to make friends.
I love it, but I want to stay on that here for a moment. Why is boldness important? Why is it important for people to embrace boldness, to step out, to be courageous, to have audacity? From your perspective, I'd love to get your take on it.
Because if we live life, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here, just to be comfortable, just to do the same thing, we don't really extend our talents or our life or our abilities. If we welcome change, challenge, and adventure, we're going to have a fuller life. So embrace the change and dare to be different.
Hmm. I like that. I like that. I have what's called a bold framework. It's an acronym, right? And essentially, if you follow this bold framework, you will live your best audacious life. And it's a 4-letter acronym. The B stands for better than you were yesterday, and it's built off of the premise or idea that we're always improving. So that mountain that you climbed yesterday, it was a big deal. You got to the top. I hope when you got there, you celebrated, you're proud of your achievements, you celebrated, you're happy and all that great stuff. But tomorrow there's a bigger mountain, so climb that one next, right? Like when I was, when I was in Little League basketball, we won the championship. A bunch of 9 or 10-year-olds, we were excited, we won a championship. Well, as an adult, that doesn't matter anymore. So it's great for that time, but what do you do next? So that's the concept of better than yesterday. The O stands for outlast adversity. So essentially, there's going to be challenges in life. There's going to be obstacles. There's going to be pitfalls. It's our job. It's incumbent on us to outlast that adversity to get to the other side, because on the other side is where all of our greatness lies. The L stands for live your truth, really promoting authenticity, to be who you're supposed to be. And it's really easy to look to the right or the left and see what other people are doing and want to be like that or emulate that. But that's their individual story. And we have our own path to take. And the last one, the D, what inspired me to share the BOLD framework with you, is disrupt the norm. Sometimes you're going to go off that beaten path. Sometimes you're going to have to stand alone. Sometimes you're going to be the only one out there. Like I think of the image of the scene of the Wright brothers. They're trying to get this plane off the ground, and people thought they were crazy, and people are telling them, flying is just for birds. Humans don't fly, and now flying is part of our everyday existence. And so you sometimes, to your point, sometimes you've got to stand by yourself, regardless where everyone else is. You got to stand in your truth and live the life that you want for yourself.
Very well said. Boy, you're very empowering.
Oh, well, thank you. I think it's a collection of wisdom that's gotten me to the point where I am at now, and I take no credit for my life's lessons. I've accepted them and I've put them into practice and try to share them, much like what you've done, Brian. So I'm just emulating what you're doing.
Well, thank you so very much, Audley. Thank you. Many blessings to you and your work, and I'm thrilled to be part of it.
Yeah, no, this is wonderful. For our listeners, if they want to grab a copy of your book, where can we send them, Brian?
Amazon, Barnes and Noble.
Okay. And you've also got your own website. It's brianauthorhampton.com, which is awesome.
Thank you. I forgot about that. Gee whiz.
I got you.
Thank you very much. Yes, I forgot. I do have a website, Brian Author Hampton.
I love
even
it.
get messages through there.
That's right. No, I think listen, I've got your back, Brian. Don't worry about it. We'll make sure. What we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure in the show notes we're gonna put the your website details there for people to also access to if they want to reach out or connect with you or send you questions. By all means, that's a good way to do it.
Thank you so much.
Good. Well, look, I really appreciate spending the time with you today, Brian. It was very, very cool. And I just love, again, the sharing piece of your work is what I really, really excites me because, like you think about this for a second, right? Someone could be going through a challenging moment, something, and it could be very, very, very difficult to them in this exact moment. And if I had known that there was someone else that went through that exact situation I went through and they have the answer because they got to the other side, I'd want to hear about it. I want to know about it, right? And what you've essentially done is you've taken all of that, you put it in a book and you said, okay, folks, here's what you can use to get to the other side. And that's why I think the work that you've done there is just remarkable. And I congratulate you for that.
You made my day, made my week.
I'm just listen. It was a pleasure to have you, Brian. Thank you so much for the time and all the best, my friend.
Thank you very kindly. I'm delighted and thrilled. Can't thank you enough.
Yeah, no, thanks. This is good, Brian. This is good. Back we are here on the podcast. During our chat with Brian, he emphasized the importance of making confrontations about the other person rather than yourself, offering a practical techniques to navigating these difficult interactions. What I personally loved about the interview with Brian is his authenticity and his commitment to helping others learn from experiences. And being a first-time author at the age of 81 was also quite impressive. His tips are not just for theoretical, but they're grounded in real-life situations that many of us encounter and many of that he's encountered in his own life. And so if you want to connect with Brian directly, you can find his contact details in the show notes below, or also pick up a copy of his book. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for joining us on the Audacious Living Podcast. If you enjoyed the conversation and found value in Brian's insights, I encourage you to like, follow, subscribe, and share this podcast with others if you haven't already done so. Your support helps us and reach even more listeners who are eager to live audaciously. Until next time, remember, embrace boldness, live authentically, and continue to seek out more those audacious moments that will lead you to a fulfilling life. Take care and keep living audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stephenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.